So
yes,
there we are. Yeah.
All right.
Take it away, Debbie.
Yes, let me start by saying it's very nice to be invited to UX Antwerp group, even though we're from Ghent, really. We're a little bit outsiders, but we're very happy to be here. So, yeah, we are Joana and Debbie, and we work at Esko in Ghent. We have a few things in common, mostly around food and drinks, it seems. So this is a very appropriate place for us to be because we both like beers. Here you see us with our favorite beers. We like to pair this beer with food like cake, falafel, all kinds of things. We also really like music, and of course we like UX. So lots of things in common. If people have their favorite beer, they can always share it in the chat. Maybe we can talk beers after this as well. But for now, we will talk about our UX practice. So we are both UX designers at Esko, but we have a few different hats, let's say. So Joana is a product designer and a product manager, actually. So besides from the UX things that we both do, like prototyping and maintaining the design system, she also has some product management tasks and strategy tasks. And I'm working at Esko for a long time already. This is why I also have some other things that somebody newer to the company maybe doesn't have. So I have some trainings and demos with long-time customers of ours, or I do workshops with them and doing little design sprint exercises as well. So same but different. Yeah, so a little bit about our company, because probably you haven't heard about us. So we're not like a design agency. We're mostly focused on software, a little bit of hardware as well. And everything is centered around creating packaging and pre-press. So best way to describe it is that like 9 out of 10 of the things that you see in the supermarket have actually been touched by our software. So we have all kinds of software to design the packaging 2D, the 3D, to put it on a pallet to see what it looks like in 3D in the shop, all kinds of different things. So this is a bit of a collection of our different sub-companies. Joana actually works at Enfocus, which is one of our sub-companies, which also has a lot of different products. And maybe the one that you might know is actually Pantone. So from the Pantone colors, the color books, and the color of the year, that might be the most familiar one to you. Or maybe you've heard about Enfocus Pit Stop, which is like a pre-flighting tool for your graphical files. But just to show that we have a lot of things. Go ahead.
Sorry.
So just putting on a bit of pressure, Joana.
No.
So yeah, we are here to talk about our UX team, which is a bit in between brackets because we don't actually have a UX team. We do have UX designers, but we are not together in a single team. Actually, our situation is a bit different from maybe other people at other companies, because we have this extreme luxury. Now I should do this. Yes, we have this extreme luxury that we have like 50, 60, 70 developers and QA team at our disposal as UX designer. So in this case, we are the duvel, and the rest of R&D are the pinches. So our R&D department is around 420 people, and we have a handful of UX designers. So you can imagine that things can get a little bit crazy. So every UX designer has either one flagship product or multiple products, multiple Scrum teams. So 6, 7 Scrum teams is not uncommon. So this might be a bit different if you work at another place. Besides from that, we are all sitting a little bit on different islands. So we have a few UX designers who work in different R&D teams. still kind of close together. We also have Joana, who is living on the product management island all by herself with the product managers. Then we have actually 1.5 person in Bangalore R&D. It sounds like a sad story, but it's just a person.
One of them is a hobbit. Huh?
Not a hobbit. It's working part-time on UX and part-time as a team lead. And then also sometimes we work with some external people in the US. So now Joana is going to continue to explain how we try to bring these people together.
Yeah, so as Debbie said, we don't really have a UX team, so we're trying to use this term very liberally. So as she said, we have, let's say, 5 people, but we don't have what you might see in a company called formally a UX team. We are UX designers of different products, different Scrum teams. So we noticed that we weren't really doing things as a team. We were just a bit isolated in our corners, and a lot of work was being repeated. There was a lot of reinventing the wheel, and there was also not a lot of just sharing knowledge and cool stuff, even, and just some beers between the 2 of us. Well, not the 2 of us, the 5 of us, but also the 2 of us. So many moons ago in a galaxy far, far away, there was this idea of having a couple of meetups or meetings with basically everyone that wanted to join. So maybe some R&D profiles that wanted to learn or share a few things, and then the UX designers would join. But very rapidly, we noticed that this was not being very consistent, so it would just happen every now and then. But actually, everyone quite liked these meetings. So about, let's say, 1.5 years ago, we decided, okay, let's actually join this team and make it into a team. And we started doing these regular meetings where we would just share our knowledge. We would share which tools we would use. We would show work from ones and the others. But the cool part is that when you don't have a team and you want to start having one and you want to start making these decisions of how we're going to work, you first actually have to map how you're working. So these meetings actually allowed us to do that. So we started by mapping all the different ways of working. As you can see, for 5 developers, it's quite a lot of ways of working. So they are in different categories. You can see that for even some iconography, we have like 5 or 6 ways. And spoiler alert, the ones in yellow are the ones that we chose as our ways of working. But to get there, we had to see how each of us actually worked. So that's, for me, quite a crucial thing, because sometimes we jump into the forming a team without actually assessing what we have right now. So you want to, sometimes starting completely from scratch is a good idea. Sometimes it's better to actually see what you're doing and see if we can get somewhere from that point. We also had a ton of different styles and icons. Of course, if you have 5 people in different islands, that's gonna happen. So you can see, on the top left, we have the Enfocus ones, and then we have, I think these are the icons from Web Center, if I'm not
Yep.
and just some different products, and you can see that all the styles are different. The ways we are constructing the icons, the components were different. So this was pretty cool to see also how we were all doing this. So eventually we could form some sort of uniformity. Then we started having a few coffees, because coffee is good and beer is also good, but beer is not allowed in the office. So we had coffee. So we started having a few coffees, first informally, and then we incorporated it in post-corona. But I will tell you a bit more there. But we had it as a bit of a stand-up, like the equivalent of a stand-up. So this is the time where we just talk a little bit to each other, and then we actually say what we're going to do for that week, and we possibly also share a few things that we did with each other. Then we introduced Figma Maria, as you could see by our spoiler. We introduced Figma as our sole design software platform. And with this, we also made it get her shit together. So what you can see here is that we put everything from Esko and from Enfocus all in one organizational Figma. And like this, we can all actually collaborate much better, and we can get some inspiration, see how the others are using the design systems, actually create a design system. So this was it might seem quite simple, but for something that didn't exist or a team that never existed, this was quite a crucial step for us to have everything in one place.
Yeah, before people had stuff on shared drives or on a wiki or their own machine or wherever. And this is the first time that you can actually see what other people are working on.
Yeah, which also brings you together as a team a bit, because then you can comment and check each other out. So it was pretty cool in that sense to have it. Then we worked with an agency, like Debbie said. Sometimes we work with an agency in the US. And they helped us to create a uniform design system. So this is something that we are using from now on. Of course, with legacy products, we all know how things go. But this was quite an extensive work that allowed us to create a very extensive design system and also documentation on how to use each component. And this is something that eventually we will put different flavors on for the different subsidiaries from Esko, for for the different products, etc. Sorry. Yeah. So then Corona hit. So that was nice. We were in the middle of actually trying to get a team, and we were doing some progress, and then we ended up all coming home. And yeah, of course, if you don't try to counteract, the natural thing will be that you end up being a little bit isolated from each other. So we knew we had to try to do something to avoid that. So as you can see, Debbie and I, represented by the beers, as you know before, we actually live 5 minutes from each other, so it didn't make much difference from the office, except that I don't have to go up the stairs, so that was nice. And we ended up doing quite a lot of what we call the lunch walks that always have to have cake or food. In general, so we found ways to still meet each other and talk about work and share or not work. And in our case, we were pretty lucky that we lived so close. So this was definitely helpful, at least for the two of us. And a bit linked, we have something called the Ux Falafel. So this is just lunches that we do, of course, corona friendly, so just with one other colleague, so we're like 3 people, and we grab some falafel from our favorite place here around, and we just go to the park and have a mini UX lunch where we're just there and trying to still keep the connection that is also so important in a team, but also just chill with each other and talk to each other and create that bond and keep that bond. Just one thing before I go. Of course, with this, we also started doing, as I mentioned before, the remote UX coffee. So we actually do that always at the start of the week. We do it on Mondays at 9:30, if I'm not mistaken. And we, again, always do a bit of, okay, how was your weekend, etc. But then we go around and we share what are we going to do in that week. And also maybe we finished a project and we want to share a bit, or we want to ask for some quick feedback. We always do that here. And for me, this was one of the nicest things to keep the communication between the whole team, because the walks are really cool, but it's just the 2 of us, and the falafel is cool, but because of Corona, we can have all of us. So the stand-up or the UX coffee was a really cool way to to always keep that connection and make sure that we're always still collaborating and talking to each other. Then we decided to collaborate even more in Figma. So as you can see, this presentation was done in Figma, and we used these cool post-its to show how, to kind of tell to each other, what do we want in these slides. So mine are the purple slides and purple post-its, and Debbie's were the yellow ones. And we used all the comments and all the cool stuff in Figma. And the idea here is that Figma is awesome for design. We all know that, but it's such a cool collaborative tool as well that you can even use it for things that are not just designing on your own screens. Why not do a little brainstorm session, even though there are cooler tools, and Debbie will talk about them. But why not push think a bit out of the box and use Figma for other things? Just as long as you can boost collaboration between all of you, that's the best thing. And lastly, we also did some online meetups and trainings together. So for example, about a month ago, we participated in a couple of workshops from Bicablo, so the design thinking. And then we do a little chat on the side, and we say, how are you feeling? How are you liking this? Again, even if it's not directly related to what you're working on that specific minute, it's still cool to learn things together and make yourself into a team, because being a team is not just working together, but also learning together and creating a bond. So this was also important for us. And also it was pretty cool. Back to you.
Yeah. So that's what we're trying to do to get our virtual UX team together. And then there are some other things that we try to do to get also, or to spread the UX DNA, that's what we call it in the company. So since we're only a few UX designers, we want to use our powers for good and spread the UX awareness across other people. So we definitely have a lot of interested developers, front-end developers, QA people from documentation that are really interested in UX and want to be involved. So there are some things that we do to spread this UX DNA. Well, first of all, there is Figma, of course. So since we started to use that, and we also have our design system in there and like the brand guidelines. We try to get more people on there. As you may know, this viewing Figma and commenting is free, so there is no obstacle into invite just everybody. So we made a little training that was fun, just a few minutes, that people could click around and learn how to view and comment on Figma. Not that it's so difficult, but at least people by doing that already tried it once, and they said, oh, it's nice, you have clickable prototypes. Oh, and then they already started thinking about some kind of prototype that they needed for their project. So it already helped to spread the Figma love. And also we invited some front-end developers who weren't that much involved directly in making prototypes before, but also to edit in Figma, in fact, and to collaborate more. So we actually have more power and are able to make more prototypes or do some stuff together. Then another tool that we started to use a lot is Miro. Maybe you know this already or not. It's very comparable with Mural if you use that. But we use this for all kinds of things, so all kinds of workshops and things that we like to work on together. So people can all log in and put post-its on here, and there's all kinds of templates. For example, here we were using it to build our roadmap for the next release. So together with the developers, we were looking at what are the required stories and putting them on the roadmap. And it's just a lot of fun to work in this way. And people are starting to think about it in a bit more visual way. Of course, we also use Miro for other things. For example, for brainstorming sessions. Brainstorming sessions and like design sprint exercises. So we've used them. We used Miro also to do for example, like little crazy 8 sketches and dot voting and things like that. Since we can't sit together in a room to do this now, we put them on the Miro board and then put our dots on it, or somebody chooses like green stars and other person that's blue squares, and we make some, we do some funny things. But it's a very nice tool to do that. And it helps to get some different people on board. There's a few people in the team that are always very happy to be involved in brainstorming sessions, and maybe a few people that are a bit more shy. But working on this digital board actually helps people to collaborate on this. They can add their ideas, so it's a cool tool to use. Then one tool that I personally really like is Mentimeter. We started to use that for our inner circle, which is like a monthly show and tell with customers. So selected customers, they get like a sneak preview of ongoing development, and also some prototypes. Sometimes they get to vote on the roadmap, that sort of thing. And we also use this tool now for our internal show and tells, actually, because what it does is it allows you to make a presentation, so slides, but it has interactive polling, so you can ask questions. There's different types of questions, so you can see some bars. It can show nice visuals, and you really see the live results. So as people type their comments or as they vote on something, they can even prioritize items, and you see the bars go up and down. So this is a lot of fun. And some of the most common things are that people send us little hearts and mind blown smileys, which sounds a bit silly, but it's actually a lot of fun for the developers to get that feedback while they're showing some things during the show and tell. And in our external inner circle, where not the whole development team is involved, the nice thing is also that you can export this with all the comments and what everybody said, and if you share it with the development team afterwards, they're very happy to receive some good feedback on their work. So this is if you don't know it yet, it's a very fun tool to use. And then my last part is a bit of guerrilla warfare. So since we're only a few people, the ones that, or the UX designers we do have, need to, of course, sometimes stand up and fight for a good UX. So not be afraid to speak up when something is wrong, and fight to get our nice tools like Figma, for example, and organize our own UX coffee meetings to get together and this sort of stuff.
And also infiltrate a bit meetings where people don't invite us
exactly
intuitively. I'm sorry, of course, my cat had to appear. Sometimes we see that there are certain sometimes we see there are certain meetings that we know we should be there, but instinctively we don't get invited. And part of the guerrilla warfare is also to just say, hey, I think we should be included there, and I think you should have a customer voice in here.
Yeah, indeed. And not just to represent the end user, but also sometimes to make sure that the strategy that's coming from top down, it actually thinks about that sort of thing. So basically making sure that it's not just managers in a meeting, but they think, they take us as well. So sometimes we have to speak up. All right. Then we are at our last slide, and we, of course, want to answer all your questions or receive feedback. We just have one more note that we're actually looking for a colleague right now. So if you're interested, just let us know or go to our jobs website. So we have an opening for UX designer, or if there's any front-end developers in here as well, we're also looking for a front-end engineer. So yeah, in case you're looking, just let us know. All right.
All right. You two are hilarious. It seems like we have a lot of fun working together.
Oh yes,
nice.
yeah. And a lot of cake too.
It's very cool to see how UXers operate inside of different companies too. I think most of us have a lot of experience working with developers, but not necessarily with an R&D departments. Mm-hmm. So I think that's really interesting to see that. So thanks for the perspective. And I just love how this is all about, just getting it done. And I use the term guerrilla UX or guerrilla user testing a lot. So sometimes you just have to get in there and make it happen. And it seems like you took initiative, but you did it by making our jobs seem really fun and awesome and like taking people on a ride, which I think is really inspirational, actually. I talked to so many designers who are like, how do I convince people to use us and to understand our process? And actually, that's a really good method. Just make it really fun. So I commend you on that.
It's really fun. So
it is. I agree. Yeah.
And I think sometimes like we tend to get a little protective of our work, like, yeah, but I came here and I cleaned up all your mess and I made it nice, so I don't want you to come. But actually, that's not a good approach. In the end, you want them to be more aware. So if they do make a choice that you didn't do, they make the right choice. So you want them to really be aware and even, as Debbie said, come into these little trainings and understand the basics and know how to play with it and how to use the tools. And then, we're all rowing to the same side, so we don't need to be competing against each other. We just need to help each other and make sure that we all know what we're doing. So that's what we're also trying to do, for sure.
Again, and I feel like we have this sort of unspoken theme tonight of just being like, let's just be open with each other and have fun at work and get it done. I love that. That's really great. I did have one more technical question from the audience from Nora. And I'm quite curious about this too. So she's like, how are you part of 6 or 7 Scrum teams? Like, how do you actually get work done? Because she said she's part of 3 Scrum teams and just the amount of meetings and keeping up with the team is really challenging. So how do you spread yourself so thin?
Well, for me personally, I'm not in any of the Scrum meetings because otherwise it will never end. No, I work on one of the flagship products. So actually, I mostly work on one really big product, which has like 6, 7 Scrum teams. But some of them are, of course, more backend focused as well. So we do have our show and tell and big planning meeting together. Actually, I joined a short pre-planning with the different Scrum teams, but that's just one time every sprint. And then we see what kind of things that they might need, or it could be that the pre-work is already done. But it's okay. I think it's safe to say that we don't. It's safe to say that we don't do the whole UX process so extensively that we're sometimes under some time pressure.
For me, it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
I design for 5 products because I'm the only one in Enfocus. So then I have to attend 5 show and tells and sometimes 5 estimation meetings. But also I have to block time in my agenda even to do UX reviews for 5 products. So, and then I also, one of the cool things is that I'm the product manager of one of the products. So I have discussions with myself on how to do things, I guess. So that makes it easier sometimes. But I try to really put priorities on it. So try to not work on everything at the same time and see, okay, what are the priorities for this sprint? Maybe this team is at the moment already knows what they have to do, so they're just on execution mode, while other teams are expecting me to actually still do a kickoff of a feature, and they need more, because I do some kickoffs of the feature with the developers where I go through the screens, and that takes more time, of course. So I just really try to check the releases in the roadmap and see which team needs me the most that week or that sprint. So it's
staggering and prioritization. Still, that sounds like you're a superhero kind of. That's,
Fun.
I
I
commend
think
you.
for me, it's also deciding what needs like a very good prototype, or what we can just do in a simple way, because we do have a lot of reusable components. So some things you just don't need to make a very nice clickable prototype. It's just they know what to use and where to put it, and then they show it to me and I say, yeah, it's like 1 pixel to the left, and it's done.
True. It's a lot of flexibility. It's almost startup-y sounding in a way. How you just kind of have to adapt to each team. Yeah. Well, you're like an internal UX startup. That's very cool. Thank you both for sharing your story. I found it really inspirational, and it was just fun to see you two interact. It seems like a really fun team to work on. So
sure.
thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to excuse the rest of the audience. We'll have a Q&A set up for you in the sessions. So if anyone wants to talk to Debbie and Joanna, you can meet them there. Otherwise, join us in the networking, meet some new people. And otherwise, we'll see you next month, last Tuesday of April. Good night.
Thanks a lot.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.